any edge article processing field. So that's a very good opportunity for us. And if you find a suitable Cambridge University Press journal for publishing your research, you don't have to pay anything for publishing. As you might be aware, the publishing open access makes sense. You increase your chances of being cited as your article, your research is visible without a paywall. Okay, it's available openly to the users. So I would encourage all of you to consider this option to publish in Cambridge University Press. So we have a team from Cambridge University Press, and I would welcome them and introduce them. We have Mr. Gunjan Hajela, who will be speaking about the workflow, how it works, and other information about the journals, etc. So welcome Cambridge University Press team and Mr. Gunjan Hajela, and all over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for a warm welcome and setting the tone, I would say. And I would like to also thank Ritu ma'am and Jairam sir for getting this session organized. These are very tough and challenging times. So first and foremost, I hope everyone, those who have joined, are safe and secure and healthy. So and this is a very informative and very important session, I would say, because as sir mentioned, this provides a huge opportunity for all the researchers, faculty members, and PhD scholars who are in their various stages of their research to get published in one of our journals, and that too with a complete waiver of article processing charges. So my name is Gunjan, and I am joined by my colleague Devuttam, who happens to handle sales for North. In today's workshop, I'll be very quickly telling you something about introduction about Cambridge University Press, and there are various open access initiatives that we are taking. One of them, which is Read and Publish. I will try to be not very technical, try to be very simple in my understanding of the author publishing journey. What is the publishing workflow of submitting the journals, and where does the institutional interaction comes into picture. And then if time allows, I will also showcase Cambridge Core, through which you can access these journals, and any service and support that you can expect from us. I will try to give some details around that. Any questions, any doubts, any queries, please keep on typing in the Q&A box. I'll be happy to take them at the end of the session. So to begin with, Cambridge University Press, just would like to mention three things. We are the world's oldest publishing house. I don't know how many of you were aware of that, but we are the world's oldest publishing house. We are a not-for-profit organization, and we are an affiliate of the University of Cambridge. We operate in 3 different publishing groups. We are also into school education, that is kindergarten to 12. We are also owners, organizers, and assessors of IELTS examination globally, which is required for your international studies, for your work permits, and permanent residencies. And ever since then, we means our modest beginnings, we have transformed ourselves from a very conventional publisher to a modern, technologically advanced publisher, keeping pace with the technological advancements, keeping pace with the changing user needs, and all the more it has got accelerated because of the pandemic. So we are also addressing to all the needs of the libraries, of the students, of the professors and teachers simultaneously. As I've already mentioned, we are a not-for-profit organization. Whatever surplus we make, we invest it back to our university, which is University of Cambridge. We are a global organization, having offices in 6 continents and employing a workforce which is almost 3,000. And commitment to our highest quality is fundamental to our being, and that is what sets us apart from our commercial counterparts. Apart from the content which we produce, we also publish and content from our partner publishers that you can see on your screen. It includes Edinburgh University Press, Anthem Press, legal publisher Intersentia, Liverpool University Press, and so on and so forth. Which brings me to one of the most heard and talked about topics these days, especially in publishing, which is open access. Now, there are various initiatives which various publishers are taking as far as open access is concerned, but let me tell you, we and our university are strong propagators and advocates of open research, so much so that we have redefined our vision statement, and our university has also issued a position statement on open research, wherein they have mentioned it clearly that they promote and support open research because they believe that open research culture accelerates the pursuit of knowledge and fosters truly international collaboration. So, in this line, we have undertaken various small little baby steps, and one of them is Cambridge Open Engage. Uh, Cambridge Open Engage is our own preprint and early research platform, which we launched last year in the April, right in the middle of pandemic, right in the middle of lockdown, just to accelerate the needs of the researchers, which was to share, collaborate, and disseminate early research, because lots and lots of things were happening, and specifically around COVID, epidemiology, infection, vaccination. So there was so much research happening at that point in time around infectious diseases, and that's where we launched. We preponed the launch because it was scheduled to be launched in the month of July, August, but we preponed and released it in the month of April to 2020. Now, it's an early research platform which gives a space to the researchers to connect and collaborate with their respective communities and rapidly disseminate early research. The best part is it is free to use. So if you want to download or access any content, it is completely free. If you want to submit, that is also free. It's just that if you want to submit your early research paper that you might be working on, a working paper or a conference proceeding article that you might be working on, you want to collaborate and share it with someone outside Jindal Global University, outside India for that matter, you just have to create a free account, and so that a record is created that this is a working paper under your name, and you can the record is under your name itself, so that is secured. So it comes obviously along with a lot of benefits, both for researchers and authors. You can rapidly disseminate early research. You can develop and discuss research further with your peers. You can also get some sort of analytics on early research outputs, and obviously you can build an audience before your research gets formally published. So that's as a platform. The URL of the same is cambridge.org/engage. I think I forgot to mention the URL, but it's cambridge.org/engage. You can feel free to browse through. So far, over 9,000 plus live content has been already added, which has been viewed by 21.3 million times, and they have been downloaded by more than 4.6 million times. So far, we have got two featured partners. One of them is the American Political Science Association preprints, and secondly, Mathematics and Industry Reports. And there is so much more that is being added simultaneously, constantly throughout on Open Engage. So please feel free to browse. Once again, it's free to browse, free to download, free to submit also. Submission does require creating an account. Now, apart from that, Cambridge Core Share, we launched a functionality in our academic platform, Cambridge Core, which I'm going to discuss at the end of this session. Cambridge Core is by default our academic platform on which you can access our journals also, which is currently subscribed by OP Jindal Global University. But within that platform, we introduced a one-of-its-kind functionality, and I'm saying it with utmost confidence because I can tell you that none of the other publishers have this functionality as of now, wherein that you find a journal article, you copy the link of that article, that is the full text, or embed that particular link into an email or create a shareable PDF, and you can share and post it to anybody outside the campus also. That means you can share and collaborate with anybody who is not even having access to that particular journal, or say for that matter Cambridge Core. They don't have access to Cambridge Core or for that particular journal. So suppose if I am a student of OP Jindal Global University and I'm collaborating with somebody at IIT Madras, and I was working on a journal in law, and I found Cambridge Law Journal, one article which was very relevant to me. I can share the full text of the article to my peer, to my collaborator at IIT Madras. And the best part is that he does not require the access to that journal. He can straight away open the article in full text, not the abstract, full text, The only flip side would be that it will be a read-only copy. But other than that, it's again one of the small little steps to propagate open research. And ever since it has been launched, as you can see some of the statistics in this slide, now 300 plus journals out of 400 that we have on Cambridge Code have this functionality enabled, and it has been accessed and read in more than 130 countries. More than 500,000 links that have been shared were read through Cambridge Code Share. What else we are doing in open access? We are doing a lot of stuff. We are converting our subscription journals to open access. Between 2019 and 20, we flipped 10 titles, which were paid titles, to open access. And we are launching now, whatever new journals we are launching as gold open access by default from day one. Because we have set a deadline for ourselves that by 2025, we want to be a completely open access publisher, and we will be the first one, I can tell you that. We have launched very new innovative open access journals across subject areas, and as you can see, in some more emerging fields: data-centric engineering, wearable technologies, gut microbiome, experimental results. And we are developing and growing our existing journals to encourage authors to uptake open access. Obviously, open access does have a lot of benefits. It does have a lot of myths around it, which we'll try to bust today if possible. But we are partnering with societies and organizations to publish high quality open access titles that serve specific scientific communities. So as you can see on this slide, we roughly have 405 journals that are available from us, that are published by Cambridge University Press. And out of that, 378, that is 94% almost, our journals are either gold open access or they are hybrid in nature. That means they are accepting content which is open access. So that is the kind of commitment that we have towards open access, and that is where this major step was taken. And again, I'm telling you, I'm not telling it just to mention it, but this was actually, we were the first publishers to introduce this kind of arrangement or a model, and that too at a national level consortium, that is eShodh Sindhu, run by Ministry of Human Resource Development, which is now rechristened as Ministry of Education. So, and this arrangement has very recently been signed up with OP Jindal Global University. And what is it? I'm just going to explain it very layman language, and then probably we will go into the publishing workflow. So what is read and publish? As the name suggests, it has two components: read and publish. Now, it's a new model that enables the transition to open access, open research. That's already something that I've already mentioned. And apart from that, as you can see, the deals, read and publish agreements provide an opportunity for institutions to transform their publishing output towards open access in a gradual and sustainable manner. Now, as you can see, the read element is nothing but the subscription. That is the content which we have offered to OP Jindal Global University, which, by the way, is Humanities and Social Sciences collection, covering 264 journals, which are now accessible to all of you at OP Jindal Global University. The best part is that these are available within the campus, outside the campus, remotely as well. I'm going to talk about that later. Apart from that, the publish component. The publish component is that you, all the researchers, faculty members, PhD scholars, you have an unbound opportunity to publish your research in one of our journals. Those journals should be gold or hybrid open access. One of our gold and hybrid open access journals as a gold open access article, and that too without any article processing charges. That is, it's 100% waiver of APC charges, right? And obviously, as sir mentioned in the introduction, that it gives you, if your research is available freely from day one, it means that it will be having a wider reach, which means it will have a higher number of views, citations, and downloads. And hence, I would say, as and when the citations of your research goes up, it also indicates the kind of quality that your research has. And ultimately, it also helps back the institution, because the qualitative research which goes out from the institution directly impacts the institution's name itself. So undoubtedly you must have got a hang of it, that it definitely is a lot of benefits it does offer. You have the funding request or requirements are met with a single source, because of the institution itself. It broadens visibility and furthers the dissemination of research. It increases the citations and usage that I've already talked about. And from the institutional perspective also, the gold open access titles are included to maximize the author choice. And it's sustainably, when I say sustainably, we are not converting everything right from day one. It will happen in a gradual manner, but once it happens, the institutional publishing will be gold open access, and as I mentioned, it will directly or indirectly impact the reputation and the qualitative research that comes out from the institution also impacts the ranking of the institution. So I think this is which we have already covered. Just to reiterate that it's a single fee that is now charged both for access as well as publishing, and authors do have option, but they are encouraged to publish open access. Now, I was just talking about the content. So, Humanities and Social Sciences collection, as I mentioned, of Cambridge University Press is live at OP Jindal Global University. It comprises of 264 journals, out of which 240 journals are gold and hybrid open access. That means they are eligible for APC waiver under Read and Publish. There are a long list of subjects, but I have just picked up a handful of them: archaeology and anthropology, business economics, linguistics, literature, law, management, philosophy, politics and international relations, religion studies, social studies, and many more. So what I'll do is probably if you want to have the list of journals that are available, you can contact the library. Otherwise, we will also be happy to share the Excel sheet of the journals that are available, so that you can just browse through and maybe find a journal which is relevant to you. Now, which brings us to the most important element of this session, which is the publishing workflow. Now, you can see every article that is submitted to us, or for that matter to Cambridge University Press journals, they undergo the same rigorous peer review process, so that we sustain the high quality of our journals. There is absolutely no compromise. It goes through the same process. Now, the decision to publish an article is not affected by whether it will be published as open access or it will be published behind the paywall. That is the author's choice, and that has got nothing to, it doesn't impact at all the workflow or the process itself. Now, as you can see, there is some diagrammatic representation on this slide. Now, from manuscript preparation till the manuscript decision, everything remains the same. This is conventional process which you are already, excuse me, which you are already might be aware of, because you might have published already, or you must have studied it, you must have learned about it. It's the fifth step, that is the transaction process, where read and publish agreement comes very much handy. Now, you prepare your manuscript and you submit it for a journal. It goes through a peer review process, and after, say, correction, amendments, modifications, when you resubmit it, it gets finally accepted. So you get a mail from a journal, say suppose Cambridge Law Journal, or say American Society of International Law Journal, that your journal has been accepted. Now, at that stage, you are prompted that you are a researcher of OP Jindal Global University, and OP Jindal Global University has an existing agreement with Cambridge University Press, which allows you to publish this article as open access. That is where you have to decide whether you would like to publish this as a gold open access article or not. If you decide yes, there is a process, there is a transaction which gets triggered. The administration or the library at OP Jindal Global University receives an alert that Professor Gunjan from the Department of Law wants to publish his or her article as in the American Journal of International Law, AJIL, and he has requested to publish this article as a gold open access. Now, what will the institution do? Institution will validate that whether I am a bona fide researcher from Open Business Global University, and whether the journal that I want to publish my article is part of my subscription. If yes, they will click on yes, and automatically my article processing charges will be waived off and the article will move towards the production. So I have just tried to explain this in a gist, right? And I'm sure you must have got a little bit understanding of it. Now we'll try to deep dive and go step by step. As I mentioned, I'll try not to be too technical because this is what exactly happens, whatever I've explained to you. But I'll try to give you a little bit more diagrammatic representation of things, how things proceed. Now, for all this process to get through, we have our own third-party transaction process system, which is wherein we work with RightsLink Copyright Clearance Center to process these article processing charges. So obviously, there are various journals of Cambridge, but as and when we want to identify the researcher and the institution is waiving off, obviously there has to be a mechanism which can take care of the waiver or discount of APCs. So for which we work with a system called RightsLink Copyright Clearance Center. The institutions and the authors participating in read and publish deals benefit directly from RightsLink tool, which is, by the way, as Open Access Agreement Manager. It is custom built to facilitate smoother transactions for authors and administrators. And for you at Open Business Global University, there are no financial transactions involved because you have a complete waiver of APCs. There are institutions outside India where there is a discount on APCs. They are not complete waiver. So there, say suppose there are £2,000 of the APC. If XYZ University outside has had a read and publish agreement deal with Cambridge University Press, wherein we are offering 50% discount. So there they will have to pay 50% APC. But in this case, for us and all the institutions who are with us in India, they have a complete waiver policy. Now, this allows us to identify the authors who are eligible for APC waiver and automatically applies a discount. So there is no transaction involved. That means it's a touch-free journey for the author, right? And institutions can review and authorize APC funding requests. That is something which you don't have to bother. That is something which the administration and the institution bothers, and they do take care of this process. Now, first step is manuscript preparation. You discover a journal, you visit the journal information page, you try to find out the guidelines, how many words are allowed, what is the total number of pages the article should be, what are the instructions given to me as an author, and then you format your manuscript accordingly and try to submit it. So you can browse through various journals on Cambridge Core. Every journal page has its own information page, and as you can see, there is a tab called Submit Your Article. There is a tab called Information on every journal page on Cambridge Core. Right? I'll try to show it. I am just taking cognizance of the time, so we are just half an hour into the session. So I think I should be able to cover that as well. Now, wherever possible, we try to remind the user to check whether they have APC waiver available or not. So as you can see, you will find these orange and green boxes popping up right here and now that this journal accepts open access. Do check your institution is there having eligibility or not, right? So there will be pop-ups, there will be banner ads which will keep on running just to make you reminded of that there could be a possibility, which you know already now, that there is a existing agreement with us. Now you go onto the detailed information page wherein you find the peer review guidelines, the publication ethics, the author publishing agreement, what is the editorial, who are there in the editorial board, what is the open access policy of the journal, and everything. And based on that, you format your manuscript and you prepare your manuscript accordingly based on the guidelines of the journal. Also, if you want to see which all institutions are part of the read and publish agreements currently across the globe, you can see it on Cambridge Core itself. I will try to show it also. That includes all the institutions in India. I will show you that also. Right? So you can also find a link to the list of all universities across the globe, country-wise also, wherein Cambridge University Press is running read and publish agreements. So everything is transparently maintained and managed on Cambridge Core itself. Now you have prepared your manuscript. Now the next step is that you want to submit the manuscript, which will then in turn go to a peer review process. Now you will navigate to the submission system of the journal. You will log into the submission system using your ORCID ID. You will submit your manuscript and any other supplementary materials that you might have, and you will keep on checking the system to check the status of the online submission system. So here, every journal, as I said, it has a submit your article tab, and also you might have a pop-up just like this if you are accessing it within your institutional IP range, or the remote access that might have been extended to you. Will you be paying the fund? You will be funding to pay the full article processing charge, or are affiliated with an institution covered by an Cambridge University Press Read and Publish. So you can confirm and you can proceed. So here you will log in with your ORCID ID. If you do not have ORCID ID, it is highly recommended that please create your own ORCID ID once and use the same so that you have your unique identification wherever you publish, whenever you publish, it is maintained, and you have your own unique records of research that you publish over a period of time. So then you will see this kind of screen that starts with submission. You will begin a submission, and you will land up on a page wherein you will try to find a list of institution which you can see is a list of institution from a drop down. You can check it. You will find and I think by default the legal name of the institution is what you should search for, obviously. So OP Jindal Global University or Jindal Global University would be the name that you can find and search when you are browsing through the list. Now here comes a very important element, that the corresponding author. So who all can get the benefit extended of Read and Publish? It is the corresponding author. So corresponding author should be from the institution. Now, what does corresponding author means? I'm sure you must be aware of that, but if not, you can also Google it. But let me tell you, sometimes there are multiple authors to an article. So suppose one of them is me. I am a representative of OP Jindal Global University, and I am collaborating with one of my peers, Debuttam Bhattacharjee, who is from, say, Ashoka University. Now, Ashoka University might not have this agreement in place, and I am the corresponding author. That means I will correspond with the journal editorial board. I will take the decision. I will respond to any comment. I will update on any peer review process. I will make sure that if any resubmissions are required, I will make that resubmissions, reuse of content, or the availability of data materials. So the corresponding author should be from the institution, right? So even if there are 3, 4, 5 authors to a journal article, the benefit will be extended only when the corresponding author is from the institution or belongs to the institution. So you have to please keep that in mind. Now, once you have submitted your manuscript, you will find this kind of mail that your manuscript entitled, whatever is the name of your journal article, has been successfully submitted online for consideration for publication in, say, American Journal of International Law, and there will be a manuscript ID which would be given to you. Once you have received this, your article will get proceeded into a peer review process. Now, for hybrid journals, those are not pure gold open access, but those are hybrid open access. You will not be required to choose that you want to publish your article as gold open access at this stage. That will come later, right? Now suppose the peer review process happens, your article is finally accepted. A decision has been made that your article has been accepted. You receive an acceptance email that Professor Gunjan, your article has been accepted by this and this journal, and now you have to choose a license. Here comes the most important step of making a decision to publish your research as gold open access or not, right? Now, so if an article is accepted, following the completion of any revisions that are required, the authors receive a mail that you can see in your screen. And we, for all the hybrid journals, we have got a new licensing system in place, which is with the help of Ironclad. It's a licensing and contracting system which helps in generating the licensing agreement, archiving and signing with the author and with all the parties, including the journal. So you will shortly hear from our digital licensing partner Ironclad in order to complete your licensing agreement for publishing this article. Now, this is one of the key steps wherein you have to decide whether you want to publish your article as open access or not, right? And this will be the this will be the form or the article author publishing agreement form that you will receive. If and this is the screen on the screen that you see on the right hand side, the images, this is exclusively for hybrid journals only, because as you can see it is giving us option of non-open access article and open access article. That means it's a hybrid journal because it accepts open access partially, and otherwise most of the content is behind the paywall. But for gold open access articles, the screen will be slightly different because it will having only open access articles as the options available. Now, once you have to fill up this form, that is the author publishing agreement form, and once you do that, a record is automatically created in our production tracking system, and your article moves to the subsequent stage. Now, as I mentioned, we have recently replaced our licensing process, and we have got an improved digital licensing solution, which is with the name of Ironclad. You don't have to bother about it because you will not be interacting it as such. It will come in front of you as a screen. You will not even be aware that what is the system that you are working on. But just to make you understand, it's a digital end-to-end contract lifecycle management platform. The idea is that I am a researcher. I have published my research, and I obviously would like to have a record created. I would also want an agreement to be signed so that it creates a record that this particular research was published by me, and it should be signed by the journal also. It should be archived also somewhere. It should be stored somewhere, saved, so that anytime, any day, if I want to check, that unique record against my name should be there. So it's just a contract lifecycle management tool that we have embedded in this whole process, right? So then author receives a mail from our partner, and they have to choose one of the options. As you can see, by default for hybrid journals, we select as gold open access. But if you think that no, I don't want to publish gold open access, let me go behind the paywall and let me choose subscription, it is completely your choice. We will encourage you, but it is your choice ultimately that you would want to choose gold open access or not. Now, as you can see, the messaging within this form will be tailored according to the articles flagged as eligible. Now, that's again one important thing that I would like to mention. There are certain articles which will be eligible and which will not be eligible. Now, which will not be eligible, which will be eligible, let me tell you. All the original research articles, all the review articles, and all the rapids article, that is the some of the journals do accept rapid journal articles. Those will be accepted, and non-eligible, an article will be made non-eligible also because if you have submitted it in a journal which is not part of the OP Journal Global University subscription, right? So suppose you have picked up a journal which is beyond the list of 240 journals which is not subscribed by the university, and if you are trying to make a submission in that, it will make that article as non-eligible article. So, and obviously it depends on the corresponding author's institution. So that I have already explained you that the corresponding author should be from OP Journal Global University. If it is from some other institution, automatically this will be non-eligible under this agreement. Right, so this is something which we have covered. For open access journals, I told you that there will be slight change in the screen. So this is the difference in the email that the author will get if you have submitted an article and it has got accepted in an open access journal itself. So other than that, everything remains the same. Yeah, so it remains exactly the same. Now, there's again an important thing. Suppose you have submitted your article behind the paywall, and even though there was an agreement, you decided not to publish your article as gold open access. Or suppose you did decide to publish it as gold open access, but due to some technicalities, you were not able to get through. We also do a retroactive open access outreach. That means we reach out to the authors once again during the course of the year that your article was eligible, you submitted it in a journal which was part of the Read and Publish subscription. Would you still want to convert your article as open access? If you submit this, there's an online form link that will be given to you, and it will be a very simple form. 3 things will be asked. That's it. Your confirmation will be required. That's it. If you still decided to do, yes, okay, let me convert my article as gold open access, it will automatically be converted to gold open access. And if you have had any transactions, that will be reverted accordingly, right? So very recently, one of this case happened actually with OP Jindal Global University, and we are following it up already. This was for Professor Swaminathan, I think. He published, he got his one of the journal articles accepted in one of the journals in Cambridge University Press, and it's just that because of some technicalities, the link of this rights link agreement manager account was not created by then, so he just had to submit his article behind the paywall. But now that we have got the details of his manuscript, we have written to our team to get his article converted to open access, because he wanted to publish his article as gold open access. So similarly, if suppose you submit your article throughout the year, and you might receive similar mails from our global teams to convert your articles as gold open access, and again, it will be your choice. If you do not want to it will stay as it is. Now comes the stage where the transaction process. This was the stage where I was talking about that the institutional interaction or the transaction comes into picture. Here, the rights link, which is the system, will send an email to the author, and author has to complete a waiver claim form, and the request will automatically get generated. It will go to the library or the admin account. They will have to just approve it. Once they approve it, your article will move to the production stage. Let's see it by a flowchart. So you have completed an author publishing agreement after a decision was made. A record was updated and rights link transaction process got triggered. Author was validated. Yes, he is recognized from the institution, and this institution is a part of read and publish agreement. Author will receive an email from rights link. Author will fill up a form that my institution is already a part of read and publish agreement. That will go to the administration for approval. If automatic approvals are on, automatically the funding will be approved. Rights link transaction will get complete. Production process continues. Your article moves to production stage. Nothing is required. But if automatic approvals are not required, it will go to the library or to the administrator. They will approve funding. Yes, Professor Gunjan is a valid researcher from the University of OP Jindal Global University, Department of Law, and his journal article is from the current journal subscription list. Let me approve it. Once they approve it, again the transaction will get complete. Production process continues. Right? This is the kind of email which the author will receive to coordinate to fill up the form or to raise a request that my APC should be waived off. And it's very simple. You do not have to do much about it. Everything will be mentioned. Congratulations on being accepted for publication in American Society of International Law. Your manuscript details. To facilitate the publication, can you please coordinate the payment of APCs? And you will just have to click on this. You will be required few details to be filled in. It will go to the library for approval. This is how it will look like. Right. And once everything is approved, you will see this similar screen in front of you, as you can see, that there is no APCs. You do not owe any amount to us to get this article published as gold open access. And as you can see, this is the final screen that will show a confirmation that your funding has been approved. From here, the institutional administrator will receive notification of the article, and the administrators will just need to go to their agreement manager and approve or deny the funding. That is all. So, which brings us to the step of institutional interaction. This has not got nothing to do for the researchers. This is something which the administrator or the library has to take care of. So, the next few slides will be relevant for them only. So, as you can see, sir, that the transaction process which gets triggered as and when the author generates a request for APC waiver, if in your agreement manager you have got automatic approvals ticked, it will straight away go to transaction complete, article goes into production. Nothing is required to be done by you also. But if you have automatic approvals off, you will be required to manually approve the funding, which is just to make a tick also. And I think I have had a discussion with I have small little demonstration with Jairam sir also on this, so we have got a little bit hang of it. And once the institution has approved this is the mail that the administrator will receive, that your author has requested APC funding. Once they approve it, automatically this is the agreement manager of the institution. They will have to click on approve. Once they approve it, the author will receive a confirmation mail, and their article would have been proceeded already to the production stage. This has got nothing to do with you, because this is relevant for only those institutions which has limited number of articles, not unlimited. So for OpenGender Global University, it is absolutely unlimited articles which you can publish as Gold Open Access in the journals that I have just talked about. Yeah. So this is the final mail that the author will receive upon the confirmation from RightsLink that everything has been done and sorted. Your article has been approved, and it goes into the production for that journal. And finally, it gets published on Cambridge Code. So this was the entire process. And just to reiterate, in the 6 steps that we have seen, from manuscript preparation to submission and decision, everything remains the same. The 5th step, wherein the decision is made, the transaction, the institutional interaction comes into picture, wherein author raises a request for waiver. That request goes to the library or the administrator to approve. If they have got automatic approvals on, that will be taken care of. That will also be not required. But if they have to manually approve it, they will approve, and your article will move to production stage. That is all. Rest, everything remains the same. So please make sure that you are, when you are submitting your article, you are very well aware that you choose Gold Open Access in the Commons license as when you choose the license to submit your article, and any query, any doubt, any technicality issues that you can reach out to the library, who in turn we will be working closely with, and if there will be any issue, we are there to get those sorted out. So very quickly, I'll just move on to a few more steps. So this is again nothing to do with the researchers. We do submit reporting to the institutional administrators on a very regular basis. They will see for their institutional account basis that how many articles were published by their researchers, how many of them applied for open access waiver, APC waiver, and how many of them are now at various stages of production. There are various resources which are available. You can I'll copy these links maybe at a later date. Otherwise, this recording will be shared in any case. So cambridge.org/publish OA or cambridge.org/RAP resources, that stands for Read and Publish Resources. You can see there are various guides. There are guides around benefits of open access publishing, and any further assistance that you come across, any issue that you come across, please feel free to reach out to us at academic.marketing.india@cambridge.org. I think this is already being covered, and this is a geographical representation of institutions worldwide which are covered under Read and Publish agreements. There are more than 500 universities globally which are now part of it. In India, we have got now 3 consortiums: Ishod Sindhu, Indian Institute of Management, and we have also created a custom Read and Publish agreement for the National Law Universities of India. These are the benefits of publishing open access. I'm sure you must be having a lot of doubts that whether I should really be choosing open access to publish my article. Trust me, it comes around with a lot of benefits. One, visibility. It definitely increases the visibility right from day one. Your article is having unlimited reach. Accessibility, because the Gold Open Access allows all readers with internet access around the world to access published research without having to pay for a subscription. Quality, because the peer review process remains the same. It is absolutely stringent, and it is absolutely the same as publishing behind the paywall. Obviously, your research can have a global impact, and this was very much evident, especially during the research around COVID-19, when the scientists around the world were trying to research, match the genome sequences and trying to find out that one vaccine that could be, designed and developed as quickly as possible. And it obviously is come under the compliance of the funding bodies and the agencies, so you do not need to worry about that as well. Which brings me to Cambridge Core, and I'll just spend 5 minutes on Cambridge Core. I will not take much time because I want to spend last 5-10 minutes on Q&A also. So Cambridge Core is our academic platform through which you can access these journals. This is a platform which has more than 42,000 ebooks and 400 journals. Out of these 400 journals, good thing, there is a lot of query that we receive that whether these are indexed in one of the citation indices. So yes, 85%, rather this figure is old, 93% of our journals are now indexed in science citation indices, social sciences citation indices, or arts and humanities citation indices. These are Scopus indexes, so you can be rest assured about the quality. 6 of our journals are ranked number 1 in 8 categories, and 32 journals are ranked top 10 in their respective categories. We publish with a lot of societies across the globe, as you can see in front of your screen: the Nutrition Society, Royal College of Psychiatry, American Political Science Association, SOAS, University of London, London Mathematical Society, American Society of International Law. These are some of the high impact factor rated journals that we have. Some of them would already be in the list that you would be finding within your institution. Now, what I'll do is I will rather go live on the environment. So this is the URL of cambridge.org/core. If you are accessing it within the institutional IP range or through the remote access that your institution might have extended to, you will find access provided by O.P. Jindal Global University written over here on the top, and you will see a similar screen. On the top, you can see there are 4 options: browse subjects, what we publish, services, and about Cambridge Core. There is a central search bar which just represents, it looks like a Google. You can check this box to search content that you have access to, or you can browse by subject also. There are services for librarians, authors, and publishing partners. I will try and showcase it in a limited time. But let's just quickly go to browse subjects. So when you click on browse subjects, you will find the list of subjects sorted in an alphabetical order. And as I was mentioning, there are more than 264 journals which are available to you, right from anthropology, archaeology, area studies to maybe sociology. Some of these subjects might not be because of the humanities and social sciences collection. Now, if I quickly choose, say, politics and international relations as one of the subjects, I'd like to just quickly show you how you can maneuver and navigate through the platform. You saw a search bar on the home page, but our faceted search technology also provides you search options at various levels, and various layers of searches are available. So within politics and international relations also, if you want to perform a search, you can straight away type in here, and it will narrow down your search results only within the subject of politics and international relations. If you browse through, it will give you a long list of journals which we have in politics and international relations. This is largely available to you, so please feel free to browse through. Also, if you wish to explore the books are currently not part of the subscription, but there are still many open access books. That is, there are free books which are available. So you can also browse through, and if you come across any book which is extremely relevant, maybe you can raise a request to the library, which we can discuss it in the coming months to, maybe as and when time proceeds. Now I will quickly open on one of the journals, which is World Politics. Within World Politics, as you can see, it is one of the leading journals in international relations with an impact factor of 2.5. Again, within World Politics also you can perform a search. So you can perform a search on the home page, on a subject page, and within us content also. If I want to submit my article, I can click on this. It will take me to the journal site, wherein I can go through how can I submit my article. If I want to browse through the information, as I was showing in the slides, what are the peer review guidelines, what are the open access policy, who all are in the editorial board, and any guidelines that the journal might be having, you can simply use this information tab also. By default, all the journals come with a back volume of 22 years or 23 years rather. So that means almost all the journals, not all, most of the journals from 264 are available from 1st January 1997. That means you are not only getting current volume and issue, which is 2021, you are getting back volumes from 1997 till 2020. That is 23 years of back volumes, which is available to you for most of the journals. Please feel free to use that also. Right, so how can you access latest issue? If you want to go through, you can click on latest issue, and you can see every particular article is having a PDF option. I'm not going to go in detail because you must be already expert. Every publisher platform offers you a PDF or HTML view. One thing which I would like to definitely highlight, which is Cambridge Core Share. Yes, so this is a share link which I was talking about, which I talked about. So if I want to share this full text with somebody who might not have access to, I can embed this link in an email, or I can create a readable PDF, and XYZ person from XYZ university can still read the full text, not the abstract, full text, right? Sometimes we receive mails that I want to use this article, I want to cite this article, can I access can I so there are questions around rights and permissions. So most of the articles you will find rights and permissions link also mentioned here. We have also embedded a citation reference manager called EasyBib within Cambridge Core. That means if you want to if you want to export the citation in a given format, because you are already writing a research paper, you can very well do that. So if I am writing article for American Political Science Association, as you can see, I have selected this format. My bibliography has changed according to the American Political Science Association format. I can export this, I can download this in a BibTeX, RIS text, or a Word format, or I can export it to my existing reference manager account. So suppose if you don't want to use EasyBib, and if you are comfortable using Mendeley, you can straight away export it to your Mendeley accounts, which is an Elsevier proprietary. I'm sure you must be having your username password. You can just log in here and it will get exported. The idea is that we have made Cambridge Core extremely flexible at every stage. We have not made EasyBib also mandatory. We have given options for researchers to use their own preferred choice format, right? So that is how you can simply browse through a journal issue or something. Now I'll go back to the homepage and quickly try to perform a search. Say let us choose a topic which is impacting all of us these days, say COVID-19 and India. So as you can see, there are many articles which are open access, but you don't want to see open access articles, you want to see articles which are available to you. You can select this option, only show content I have access to. It will narrow down your search results accordingly. Now on the left hand side, you can see there are a lot of filtering options. That means you want to see articles which has been published in as recent as last 6 months only. I have narrowed down from 59,000 approximately results to 1496 only. And you can also see there are altmetric analytics which are there. I'm sure you must be aware of altmetric analytics, but for those who are not, altmetric analytics are an indirect representation of how an article or a book chapter or a book is doing globally in terms of news blogs, social media, whether it has been cited, talked about, shared, discussed in a conference. So everything, it's an indirect representation. The higher the figure in this donuts, the better performing or the more discussed that particular book is. So that is how you can narrow down the search results and perform a search. And I'm sure you are very well equipped. You must be using various publisher platforms, so I'm not going to spend any time on this. I would rather go back to the slides and maybe show a couple of things which might be relevant for the library also. So we have a huge service section for library who can also create an administrator account. All the MARC records, pricing, everything is available. The usage statistics is available. We are Counter 5 compliant publisher. Everything is available transparently on the Cambridge Core page itself, right? And as you can see, you can create your organization account. You can download catalogs, user guides, resources, videos, everything as and when you would like to see and disseminate it further. So at that point in time, probably I would take a break and rather open the session for any Q&A. If there is already, let me check in the Q&A box.
So we have, I think, just 1 minute left, but I think if there are questions, we can extend it for another.
Yeah, sir, no problem.
So thank you, Gunjan, for a very useful session, for informative session, and you explained the workflow for read and publish program, and then also took us to Cambridge Core website, and explain, how to use effectively. Hopefully, the faculty will be encouraged to publish under this program in open access. And I know these are difficult times, and a lot of faculty are busy with their online classes and preparation for the classes, so they probably couldn't find time to attend this. The recordings will be available on the library website. Under events tab, and those who couldn't attend this, will be able to see the recording and have a look at it. Of course, we are available from the library as well as from Cambridge University Press to answer any queries even after the session. I don't see any questions right now in the question box.
Any question, any particular section that you would want me to recover, please feel free to use this forum.
So from the administrative point of view, just from the library point of view, I just want to ask, there is no interface for the administrator of the library for the read and publish thing. You just get reports of the emails, communications.
No, sir, there is. Okay. And if you want, and if you permit, sir, we did discuss it with Jairam sir a few days back, and if I can use your credentials, can I show it to you, if you don't mind?
Yes, certainly. So just for the knowledge of the participants, the interface from the library will be publications@jju.edu.in. So the publications will be the coordinator for this particular function. Of course, the subscription, etc., will continue to be handled by e-resources team led by Jairam.
So, sir, I am now going to show. So, this is the Copyright Clearance Center, the RightsLink account which is created. The email ID is just like you mentioned. It is publications@edu.in, and I am. So if you sign in this, sir, this is the administrator account, the RightsLink account for approving all the read and publish requests. So this is what I was mentioning. As you can see, if you go onto the billing profile, it shows us that Cambridge University Press is having a read and publish agreement with OP Jindal Global University. All the details are mentioned out here, right, sir? And all the list of journals which are eligible are also listed out here. If you go onto the funding request, so it was not active when Professor Swaminathan submitted his article, but that is already been discussed, and we are already in the process to get his article converted as Gold Open Access. So his will be the first article, which will be the Open Access article from OP Jindal Global University. But once you will start receiving requests, you will be seeing a table will get created over here with the name of the researcher, his or her manuscript ID, the journal in which he wants to publish, and then there will be a button called approve or deny. So you will have to approve it. Once you approve it, automatically that particular researcher's article will get approved and it will move into production stage. And you will also receive reports as and when you will see that there are already a list of articles which have been built up. So this is your institutional portal only, sir.
Okay, thank you.
So any other query from the audience? I hope you found this session to be relevant. You can please pass on the word to your batchmates, peers, colleagues, those who cannot attend today. And as sir mentioned, we will definitely be providing the recording of the same. We will be happy to conduct it once again, maybe once a new session begins, say July, August, or any time, sir, that you want. We will be happy to conduct another session on the similar lines. And we are also more than willing to have a publishing workshop organized that we can discuss separately. But we do organize a lot of good publishing workshops on how to submit your research article, what are the do's and don'ts, and plagiarism and everything. So if you wish to have that, sir, so we can discuss that offline, and maybe we can plan a date for that as well. So
Thank
yeah,
you,
yeah,
Gunjan,
yeah.
for
Thank
the
you so
very
much.
useful session, and the entire Cambridge University press team. And thank you to my own team, Jairam Ghoda, who really organized this license, this agreement with Cambridge News Press. Anas Ali, who will handle some of the workload. Of course, I'll be approving these things. So thank you everybody who participating in this session, and thank you so much. Take care, and bye bye.
Thank you so much, sir. Stay safe. Thank you.